Think fast, talk smart, how to communicate clearly under pressure. Have you ever walked away from a conversation under pressure and said to yourself, I wish I said that instead? That's not a memory problem. That's a preparation problem. In high-stakes moments, job interviews, tough confrontations, public speaking, defending your values, your mouth won't save you if your mind isn't trained for pressure. And here's the hard truth. You don't suddenly become wise in crisis. You reveal what's already been developed. This message is not about sounding smarter. It's about learning how to think faster, respond sharper, and lead conversations when most people break down. If you've ever lost opportunities, damaged relationships, or sabotaged your own credibility because you said the wrong thing or nothing at all, you need to watch this speech to the end. Because communication under pressure is not a gift. It's a learned discipline. Let's begin. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It exposes preparation. Many people believe that pressure breaks them, that the intensity of the moment causes their failure. But the truth is much more revealing. Pressure doesn't manufacture your weakness. It simply uncovers what's already there. The moments when you're under fire, when the clock is ticking, when eyes are watching, and when your reputation or opportunity hangs in the balance, those aren't moments that create failure. They're moments that reveal whether or not you are ready. When a person stumbles during a high-stakes conversation or cracks during an argument, it's not because the situation was too difficult. It's because they walked into it unprepared. They expected clarity without discipline, confidence without rehearsal, and composure without self-mastery. And the result is panic, poor thinking, and clumsy words. Pressure isn't your enemy, it's your audit. It checks what's inside your mental, emotional, and spiritual reserves. It doesn't invent new problems. It just turns up the volume on what's been quietly hiding inside. That's why the key to speaking clearly under pressure isn't about learning new words in the heat of the moment. It's about building a reservoir of wisdom, emotional control, and mental clarity long before the moment comes. Think of pressure as a spotlight. If you've been preparing in the dark, pressure will showcase that preparation. If you've been avoiding the work, avoiding the self-reflection, the practice, the truth, then pressure will expose that too. When you're under pressure, you fall to the level of your training. You don't magically rise to the occasion. That's why disciplined people often look calm, collected, and clear in situations that break others. They're not superhuman. They're just prepared. They've done the work when no one was watching. They've rehearsed their values, practiced composure, and internalized principles they can lean on when the moment gets loud. So the next time you feel like a moment broke, you ask yourself, was I really prepared? Or did pressure just reveal the preparation I never made? Because once you shift your mindset, you stop fearing pressure and you start respecting the process. The goal isn't to avoid high-pressure moments. It's to become the person who's ready when they arrive. Clarity in communication doesn't begin with the mouth, it begins with identity. When you don't know who you are, what you stand for, or why you believe what you believe, your words will always be uncertain. You'll find yourself speaking to please, to impress, or to fit in, rather than speaking from a place of grounded truth. People who lack clarity about themselves cannot offer clarity to others. They get lost in the moment, swayed by pressure, intimidated by strong personalities, or silenced by their own insecurity. But when your identity is firm, your voice becomes clear. You don't need to think twice about how to answer difficult questions or respond in tough conversations. Your words flow from conviction, not confusion. Communication becomes a reflection of your internal order. You're not scrambling to find the right thing to say. You're simply expressing what you already know and live by. This is why some of the most effective communicators aren't the most charismatic or eloquent. They're simply the most certain. When you carry inner clarity, you speak with confidence even in silence. You don't rush to fill space or prove yourself. You speak because you have something meaningful to say, not because you're afraid of being misunderstood or forgotten. And in high-pressure moments, this inner clarity becomes your anchor. While others are overwhelmed by the fear of saying the wrong thing, you remain steady because you're not trying to invent truth on the spot. You're drawing from something that's already settled inside you. This kind of clarity doesn't happen by accident. It's built through reflection, through discipline, and through understanding your personal values, mission, and beliefs. If you skip this internal work, no amount of speaking tips or communication strategies will save you. You'll always be unsure, always seeking approval, always compromising your voice to fit the moment. But when you know who you are, you bring that certainty into every conversation. You don't just communicate, you lead, you influence, you inspire. Your clarity becomes contagious. And that, more than charisma or vocabulary, is what sets apart powerful communicators from the rest. Because at the end of the day, clarity in speech is the echo of clarity in identity. The ability to pause before responding is one of the most underrated yet powerful communication skills a person can develop. In a world that glorifies quick comebacks and fast answers, silence often feels uncomfortable. But the pause, the space between what you hear and how you respond, is where your wisdom lives. It's the moment where your emotions, instincts, and thoughts collide, and your decision in that space can either elevate the conversation or destroy it. When you speak too quickly, you risk speaking emotionally rather than intentionally. You say what feels right in the moment instead of what is wise in the long term. You might defend yourself, attack others, or try to control the outcome with words that haven't been filtered through clarity. But when you train yourself to pause, even for a few seconds, you allow space for your higher mind to engage. You shift from reacting to responding. That small moment of silence creates a barrier between impulse and action. High-pressure situations demand this kind of discipline. Whether you're dealing with conflict, criticism, or confrontation, your first thought is usually not your best thought. A brief pause can be the difference between escalation and resolution. It can prevent you from saying something you'll regret, and instead allow you to offer a response that reflects your values, not just your feelings. And in that pause, you gain control, not just over the conversation, but over yourself. Pausing doesn't make you look weak or unsure. It makes you look composed and deliberate. It shows that you're not afraid of silence, that you're not desperate to prove your intelligence, and that you respect the weight of your words. In fact, the most powerful communicators in the world use silence as a tool. They pause strategically to command attention, to show confidence, and to give their words room to breathe. Practicing the pause is like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At first, it may feel awkward. You may feel pressure to fill the silence. But over time, that pause becomes your superpower. It becomes your space to choose clarity over chaos, composure over confusion, and wisdom over reaction. That's where real communication begins. Confidence in communication is not the absence of nerves. It's the result of preparation. Too often, people think that being a powerful speaker means never feeling anxious, never stumbling, and always knowing exactly what to say. That's a myth. The truth is, even the most seasoned communicators feel nervous. But what separates them is their level of preparation. They've done the work behind the scenes. They've rehearsed, they've visualized, they've trained their minds and hearts for moments when the pressure is high and the stakes are real. Preparation is what turns uncertainty into clarity. When you prepare, you don't have to rely on adrenaline or luck. You've already walked through the conversation in your mind. You've thought about your message, your tone, your presence, and your potential obstacles. That mental rehearsal creates familiarity, and familiarity breeds confidence. You're no longer stepping into a mystery, you're stepping into something you've already conquered in private. Think of preparation as building a foundation. You cannot build something stable during a storm. The foundation must already be there before the storm arrives. Communication under pressure is the same. You cannot suddenly hope to be articulate, focused, and composed if you haven't built the structure to support those qualities beforehand. The pressure will only reveal the gaps in your preparation. When you know your material, when you've practiced how to express it clearly and authentically, confidence rises naturally. You don't have to force it. You speak from a place of inner readiness. People can feel when someone is prepared. It comes through in their posture, tone, and flow. Preparation earns you the right to be heard because it shows respect, not just for your message, but for your audience. Confidence doesn't mean being perfect. It means being grounded. It means knowing that even if things go slightly off course, you have the tools to recover because you've prepared for the unexpected. You've trained yourself not just in content, but in composure. So don't wait for confidence to magically appear when it's time to speak. Build it in the quiet. Practice in the unseen moments. Prepare like your impact depends on it, because it does. In communication, preparation isn't just a step, it's the secret weapon. Listening is the hidden superpower in effective communication, especially when the pressure is on. Many people think communication is mostly about speaking, about choosing the right words, sounding confident, and making an impact with their voice. But the truth is, the ability to listen deeply and intentionally is what separates good communicators from great ones. Listening is not just waiting for your turn to talk. It's fully engaging with the other person's words, emotions, and intentions. It's tuning in to what is said, and just as importantly, what is left unsaid. When you listen well, you gather valuable information that shapes your response. You understand the real needs, concerns, and feelings behind the words. Without this understanding, you risk reacting to assumptions or misunderstandings, which leads to confusion and conflict. But under pressure, many people stop listening altogether. Their mind races ahead to what they want to say next. Their focus narrows to defending themselves or pushing their agenda. They miss the cues, the subtle changes in tone or body language that hold the key to effective response. Mastering communication under pressure requires slowing down your mental process to truly hear the other person. It requires humility, the willingness to put your ego aside and prioritize understanding over winning. When you listen first, you create a space of respect and empathy. People feel seen and heard, which often diffuses tension before it escalates. Listening is a way of showing that you value the relationship more than the argument or the momentary victory. Listening also gives you time to think. While you absorb what the other person is saying, your brain processes and organizes your thoughts. This natural pause can prevent knee-jerk reactions and help you formulate a response that is clear, thoughtful, and impactful. You gain control not only over the conversation, but over your own emotions. Ultimately, the power of communication under pressure lies not just in what you say, but in how well you listen. Listening transforms chaotic, high-pressure exchanges into meaningful dialogue. It builds trust, fosters connection, and opens the door for solutions. When you develop the discipline to listen deeply, you become not just a speaker, but a communicator who commands respect and influence even in the toughest moments. Emotional control is the cornerstone of communicating effectively under pressure. When emotions run high, whether it's fear, anger, frustration, or anxiety, they cloud your thinking and sabotage your ability to express yourself clearly. Many people fall into the trap of letting their emotions dictate their words, leading to misunderstandings, regret, and damaged relationships. But emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It means recognizing them, managing them, and choosing how to respond rather than reacting impulsively. Under pressure, emotions can feel like a tidal wave ready to crash over you. It's natural to want to lash out, defend yourself, or flee from the situation. But when you give in to those impulses, you lose clarity and your message gets lost in the storm. Emotional control is like the calm in the eye of that storm. It allows you to pause, breathe, and regain focus on what really matters, the message you want to deliver, and the outcome you want to achieve. The ability to regulate your emotions comes from self-awareness and practice. The first step is noticing your emotional state without judgment. Are you feeling threatened, hurt, defensive? Once you acknowledge your feelings, you can begin to shift your mindset from reacting to responding. This shift creates space for reason, empathy, and tact to guide your words instead of raw emotion. When you control your emotions, you demonstrate maturity and strength. People naturally gravitate toward those who remain composed in chaos because it signals reliability and trustworthiness. In contrast, emotional outbursts often cause others to shut down or become defensive themselves, escalating conflict rather than resolving it. Developing emotional control also protects your reputation in relationships. Words spoken in anger or fear can cause lasting damage that's hard to repair. By mastering your emotions, you protect your integrity and keep communication channels open, even in difficult conversations. Ultimately, emotional control is a skill, not an innate trait. It requires intentional effort to build habits of mindfulness, reflection, and self-regulation. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes, allowing you to communicate clearly and confidently no matter the pressure. When you master your emotions, you master your message. And that is the key to powerful communication. Nonverbal communication speaks louder than words, especially when you're under pressure. Often what you say is only a small part of the message others receive. Your body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and tone of voice communicate volumes, sometimes even contradicting your spoken words. When stress or pressure rises, these nonverbal signals can become less controlled, sending mixed messages that confuse or undermine your intent. Mastering nonverbal communication is essential for clear and confident expression. When you maintain steady eye contact, it shows that you are engaged, honest, and confident. People trust someone who looks them in the eye because it signals sincerity and respect. On the other hand, avoiding eye contact or looking away too often can signal nervousness, insecurity, or dishonesty. Even if your words are strong, your posture also conveys important information. Standing or sitting up straight with your shoulders back communicates strength and readiness. Slouching or crossing your arms might suggest defensiveness, discomfort, or lack of confidence. Simple adjustments in your body language can dramatically change how your message is received and how you feel inside. When you carry yourself with confidence, you actually activate feelings of confidence within yourself. Facial expressions offer another powerful layer. A genuine smile can break tension and build rapport, while a furrowed brow or tight jaw might escalate stress and conflict. Becoming aware of your facial expressions helps you control the emotional atmosphere and guides your audience toward openness and understanding. Tone of voice, the pitch, volume, and pace of your speech is equally critical. Speaking too fast can make you seem nervous or rushed, while speaking too softly might make you appear uncertain or disengaged. Modulating your tone to match your message creates impact and keeps listeners attentive. Under pressure, people often forget to control their tone, leading to misinterpretations and lost credibility. Nonverbal cues work together with your words to create a complete communication package. When your body language and tone align with your message, your communication becomes more powerful and believable. When they contradict, your message loses its strength and can create confusion or mistrust. Learning to control nonverbal communication takes practice and self-awareness, especially in stressful situations. The more you become mindful of your physical signals, the more you can use them intentionally to support your words and convey confidence, calm, and clarity, even when the pressure is high. This silent language will often determine how well your message lands and how much influence you truly have. Adapting your communication style to fit your audience and the situation is a vital skill, especially when pressure is high. No matter how well you prepare or how confident you feel, your message will only be effective if it resonates with the people you're speaking to. Different audiences have different expectations, cultural norms, and ways of processing information. Being flexible and sensitive to these differences can turn a potentially difficult conversation into a productive and respectful dialogue. When you communicate under pressure, it's easy to fall into the trap of speaking the way you normally do without considering who's listening. But what works in one context might fail in another. For example, a direct, assertive tone might be appreciated in a business negotiation, but come off as aggressive in a more personal or emotional setting. Similarly, using technical jargon with an audience unfamiliar with the terms can alienate them and make your message confusing. Adapting means tuning in to your listeners' language, values, and communication preferences, then shaping your delivery to meet them where they are. This kind of adaptability shows respect and emotional intelligence. It tells others that you're not just focused on getting your point across, but on connecting in a way that is meaningful and accessible to them. It also helps reduce misunderstandings and defensiveness. When people feel heard and understood, they're more likely to engage openly and cooperate. Adapting your style also means being aware of the medium you're using, whether it's face-to-face, phone, email, or video conference. Each channel has unique challenges and opportunities for clear communication. For example, in face-to-face conversations, body language plays a huge role, but in written communication, clarity and tone need to be conveyed purely through words. Recognizing and adjusting for these differences can help prevent miscommunication. Finally, adaptability requires practice and observation. Pay attention to how people respond to your words and energy. Notice when they seem engaged or confused, comfortable or defensive. Use that feedback to adjust your tone, pace, and approach in real time. This flexibility makes your communication more effective and builds stronger relationships. Ultimately, adapting your communication style is not about being inauthentic. It's about being strategic and empathetic. It's about honoring both your message and the needs of your audience, so that even under pressure, your words carry weight, clarity, and connection. This skill transforms communication from a challenge into an opportunity for influence and understanding. You don't need more vocabulary, you need more internal discipline. You don't need to talk louder, you need to speak with purpose. Clear communication under pressure doesn't come from talent, it comes from trained thinking. So from this day forward, decide. No more panic, no more over-explaining. No more regrets for the words you didn't say or the ones you said too quickly. Think fast, talk smart. But most importantly, speak from a place of clarity, not chaos. Your future may depend on how well you handle your next high-pressure moment.